My name is Pete Goldberg. I'm the Director of Cloud Alliances at GitLab. GitLab is a software development platform. It's really about how developers build, test, and secure their software. One of the things that we were witnessing, like every other vendor, is the cloud's presence and the way that they are going to market. There's an opportunity to take advantage of those, and a lot of that's around tying into the contracting vehicles that they're building with their customers, and then them allowing us to ride on those, and it eases the procurement. So we saw that as something early that we could do and offer another choice to our customers. And so it's sort of taken off from there. Back then, it was a little bit more difficult to get the entire ISV, the stakeholders in there, committed to it. You know, it's a new model to finance, it's a new model to legal. And so they weren't 100% sold. So we kind of got them to dip the toe in the pool with, you know, some very basic listings that we were monetizing to kind of really open up the private offer marketplace for us. The first was it made it a lot easier to integrate some of the other teams within our organization who have to use Tackle, to give them a common interface to work with all of our cloud vendors. Been one of the better benefits. Personally, I think the reporting that you provide me is where I can go in and look at the ability to see how, you know, what offers are done and which offers are being completed, and that's definitely helpful. And then I think the presentation layer you add to the AWS reporting, which is my core focus, has gotten much, much better. It's much easier and less time consuming for me to kind of understand the patterns and trends in the business. Our general marketplace business couldn't have scaled without having Tackle in place, where we could have built consistent processes for how our reps work with it, how they start the process of saying, hey, I have a customer that wants to purchase through one of the 2 clouds that we're on today, soon to be 3 clouds. It then allows the deal desk folks to be able to work through creating private offers on either marketplace, you know, with a very similar interface, not exactly the same, but they're 2 different clouds. But they're not spending a lot of time we don't have to train people to log into multiple portals. We have a single pane of glass. And I think that's been huge to us. Probably, I think we'll end up somewhere between 2 and 3xing our marketplace business this year. And there's no way we could have done that without having Tackle in there to help the business grow. Enablement of field sellers is like, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. We repeat the messaging a lot. We do a lot of training on the value proposition, why they want to do it, why it helps engage their co-sell motions to grow and expand deals, leveraging the cloud sales teams. Marketplace at the end becomes, you know, kind of how we close those deals, but there's a lot of things that we do in enablement of co-selling that leads to the marketplace transaction to make it the logical or a very fluid motion with the customer as we work with the cloud providers. So when you ask about building co-sell motions with the cloud partners, that's a whole unique proposition, right? One of the things that I learned as an ex-Amazon person, having worked within their marketplace organization when it was separate and then moving into the partner organization, is when you start thinking about co-sell, it's a little bit different than just talking about processing a marketplace transaction. Like, the marketplace transaction is the end, right? We've done all the building of value, and now the customer's ready to kind of paper the deal. When you talk about co-sell, you have to start further back in the sales cycle, and logically lead into how you're going to transact. And so we do a lot of that effort with the different cloud providers. Each is a little bit unique in how they want to go to market with you and how they want to engage you. And a lot of that's based on where they're positioned in the market and where they are in the different accounts. And that does make it challenging because they're different. And so your sellers are kind of like, well, why does A do it this way? And why won't B do what A does? And vice versa. Or why is B harder than A? And so there's a lot of additional enablement to then again, at the end of the day, to want to transact through the marketplace. But it's a huge part of what we're doing. It's what I spend most of my time working on is, how do we build value prop and messaging where we create really about a better together story with each cloud provider. And today, being a developer tool and what we focus on, it's really about how do we become a secure on-ramp to the cloud, right? How do we help the customer journey of doing something new in this new paradigm, either on AWS or on GCP or on Azure. And so it's how do you build that messaging? How do you enable people? And then how do you then work with your counterparts on the other clouds to really bring that home? And it's a tricky way to go to market today. It's just new. We're a mid-size ISV. I think we're 1,500 to 2,000 employees, right? We're publicly traded, but we haven't been around that long that way. But we feel like a startup, and we definitely don't have as many teams and resources. And so when we can bring in something like Tackle, where we can start standardizing and centralizing things so that other teams who are all stretched too thin and, in the perfect world, they'd each have, another 5 people. I think it really helps us scale because it creates that single pane of glass and the single interface, and it lets us not have to have 3 completely different processes for the people doing the work. And again, that creates efficiencies for us that help us drive the business. I think we have big goals for next year. I took a big goal this year, and that's always fun. And so I know next year's got to be bigger. Marketplace will definitely be a component of that, of how we transact, because it's the easy way to measure some of the things. But it's also the way that customers are leaning. From a Tackle perspective and influencing, we're pretty excited about some of the new tooling you're building and bringing out. We need to figure out who the best partner is from a cloud provider to help us grow our business in that account. And I think some of that tooling that you're putting together is going to really help us be better at it, which will help us scale with the right provider, with the right customer. That's one of the things I'm super excited about. And then hopefully we're going to get closer to figuring out ways to interact with the other side, with the cloud provider CRMs using your tools. And that's super exciting because that's just a sales efficiency for my team that will make them able to go faster and do more every day.